if you grab a tape and put it on it, that side right there will be about 1/2 inch. Okay.
So I got my buddy Blake, who's a handyman professional, to come give me a hand in repairing this hole in the ceiling down in the mother-in-law suite of the house. I would usually do the repair work myself, but I'm unable to do overhead work at the moment. So you see him with a keyhole saw there, and he's also using just a big razor blade to start cutting out pieces of this sheetrock. And he's got this really hefty razor blade that he can pound on the back of it with a hammer, which is so handy when you're trying to remove sheetrock. I can't think of another application where you would even need that, but in this case, it works out really well. So he's got to clean up this hole. You've seen him using this square and the speed square. After Blake cut the hole, we found that there's a little bit of a sag, and he's gonna put some framing up in there so that we can pull the sag up. So he goes ahead and puts a piece of wood up there on that side in that hole. And or you're not trying to dig deep, you're just trying to carve a little line into it.
That's right. And then you just pop it.
Anyway, so he puts that piece of frame up in there and attaches it to the wood that's already up there, so that when he puts the screws in, it sucks that new piece and that old, like, bowing down piece back up. So here he goes, putting it in. I give him a hand holding it up, and he puts a million more screws in after I stop right here.
Nice. So it's 3 o'clock. So we're gonna start mixing this stuff. We'll probably get an hour, maybe, if we're lucky. It says 90 minutes, but you'll know when it starts starting to set up, and there's nothing you can do to really get it to stop setting up.
And since this mud is going on the ceiling and not the wall, he's mixing it sort of to the consistency of maybe a peanut butter. He keeps adding to get it just right. So you can see there's a lot of screws along the area where it was bowing down. There's a dent right there. This horrible story goes, we got a rat infestation for the first time on this street we live on since the 70s, according to the neighbors who live here. My neighbors got some farmyard animals, and everybody got rats. And the rats that came into our house got thirsty, and they wanted a drink of water, and they found it in the bottom of the tub pipes. And so they chewed those out, and so we didn't know about it. We ran the shower, ran the tub, and we had a flood downstairs. Both tubs. They also got the dishwasher. They actually ate the dishwasher. It was crazy. Anyway, you see him putting this fiber tape up here. Now he's using a stiff edge bed knife. This is stiffer than a regular 4-inch blade, so that he can embed the tape, in this case fiber tape, into the mud that he's pulled. And then he'll just cut it by putting the blade up there and yanking the tape down. And then he's just pushing that fiber tape into the mud. And this fiber tape is great stuff. Later in the video, he basically swears off paper tape for good. And he's been doing this for 20 years. You see him just kind of cleaning up the edge, pulling a little bit more mud on top of that tape. So he goes on to the next line, fills in the cracks really good where that piece was floating, puts up the new piece of fiber tape and muds over that. Now he didn't pull much mud over it. He was more or less just embedding the mud and smoothing it out. I slowed down for this one so that you could see, just again, the real speed process of pushing this mud up into those crevices and then pulling it out smooth, putting on the fiber tape, smashing the tape down into the mud, and then kind of skim coating and cleaning up the mud that's on top of the fiber tape. He didn't spill much mud when he was doing this. Unlike myself, who I kind of get it everywhere. He's overlapping the pieces of fiber tape just a little bit on those corners. And he pulls out from the center, going towards the edge. Does that again, heading the other way. Cleans off his knife, and then he goes end to end, skimming off. Coat of mud that he pulled. He only winds up sanding once, but he lays on, oh man, he came over 4 days in a row before he sanded, so he had 4 coats of mud that he puts on, including this one. This is that 90-minute fast dry, whatever it's called.
It might have applications for certain uses, but I doubt it. All this stuff looks great.
It is swearing off paper tape. This is day 2. Just scraping off the ridges of mud left from the first bolt.
Mesh tape right there over that crack too. I forgot to do that yesterday, but that's all right. Okay, so
The ultra lightweight.
you can see I'll kind of go a little bit bigger than what I had with the 4-inch knife, and then with this 6, I'll take it just outside of that.
Slowly graduating the width of the path.
Yep, and then I'll come on the other side and build it out. Whoops, a little bit. Oof. There we go. So now I can come back with a bigger knife.
So like you said, the first time when he embedded it, he was using a 4-inch knife, and the next day, day 2, when he's coming back to pull with the ultralight mud, he's using a 6-inch knife. He's making 2 paths. And he's making 2 paths all the way around, 2 paths wide of this mud, and then he changes over to a 10-inch knife for screed it off. Screed it off, yes.
I'm just gonna leave that. That's gonna be a pretty good joint there. I've got one of those recessed seams, and that's where we had to pull it, really pull it up, where it had a belly in it. There's no sense in trying to make it too perfect right now, because we're gonna come back and hit it with a couple more coats. Bit more off of that than I wanted to.
So yeah, that's our belly seam, quote unquote belly, that hangs down. So he's just putting some more mud up there.
Nope, we're gonna leave it alone. Plenty to make it look flat. This one's filled in a bunch, the next one will fill in a bunch. And then the last one will take care of anything that's left over.
Here we are on the 3rd coat.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
He's having to work a little slow around that light fixture. You don't want to add more surface that he's got to sand off later, so he's just being really careful. Okay, so I didn't get the chance to see him pull the last coat. This is what it looks like. And he pulled the last coat and put pencil marks around it.
This is 220.
That's 220, okay.
This is plenty for this. It'll get some in here for you.
It sound right, boys.
You ever use screens?
I don't like them. Yeah, you can. They don't gum up as much, but they leave little marks a lot easier.
Yeah.
These won't leave any marks.
If you didn't catch that, he's saying using sandy screens is not really his preference because they leave little marks. This is 220 paper he's using. If you're not as good as Blake, you might have to range your papers, start at maybe a 100 and then work your way up to the higher numbers. Higher numbers mean finer grit. So he's kind of dusting it off as he sands it off. It's really looking good. He's also hit this with some Zinsser paint stain blacker.
Sure.
And now he's just got some ceiling paint, some bare ceiling paint, and an 18-inch roller.
It sound right, boys.
And he goes on to paint this whole ceiling so that you can't tell. He has to pull the whole dust cloth that he has up, that plastic drop cloth. But yeah, it winds up rolling out invisible. He really kills it.
Yeah, you probably are going to do your own repairs if you're watching this right now, but if you got a friend who's calling you about help, feel free to send them to them.
HM Stars for handyman to the stars.
What?
All my clients are stars.
There you go. Seriously, if you need a handyman and you're in the Atlanta area, Blake's your guy.
Please hit like and subscribe. Thanks.